Hello, Carly. It's so nice to have you on the show today. How are you doing?
Good. Thank you for having me, Elijah.
Beautiful, beautiful. And thank you so very much for being here. You see, Carly, I truly appreciate you. And oftentimes, Carly, I love to thank my guest for two things. And I do this so often to the point where it has become my anthem. So, firstly, I want to say thank you so very much, Carly, for investing in yourself. You see, you
Yeah.
are on this platform right now because you did invested in yourself. And oftentimes, Carly, I love to make reference to the amazing mango tree. You see, some couple of months back, I was on a particular road, and just by the roadside, Carly, there was this very tall, unattractive mango tree. And I use the word unattractive because the mango tree's got no mangoes on it, and the leaves were all dry. So I just walked past it and I went my way. But you see, Carly, just recently, I was on that same road. And this time around, a lot's changed about the mango tree, I tell you. The mango tree caught my attention pretty good from a distance, and immediately I got the urge to move so close to it, of which I did, and it wowed me because now the mango tree's got a lot of mangoes on it. Beautiful green leaves and healthy branches, and not just mangoes now, Carly. I'm talking about ripe mangoes. It was such a lovely experience that day. I was so excited. Here is my point. The fact that you dedicated your time, energy, and resources to becoming the amazing Carly that you are today, that alone has made it impossible for me to skip you. And that's why you got the request for me to be on the show because I was attracted to the fruit of all that you're doing, your philosophies, your insight, your journey, the way you're offering your solutions, the impact your solutions are having. And just before I sent you that request, Carly, I said to myself, I've got to benefit from these beautiful things Carly's doing, not only me now, but even with the audience. And here we had a day with the amazing Carly. So thank you so very much for doing that yourself. And secondly, thank you for saying yes to the invite. Because if you had said nope, there was nothing Elisha could do about it. Thanks so much. Thank you. All right, so
Yeah,
let's
definitely looking forward to it.
let's get started. You see, I'm quite excited to have you on the show today, Carly, for two reasons. Firstly, my interest in knowledge seeking. I believe in order for one to transition from a terrible situation to that of a beautiful one, I believe it takes the application of knowledge, quality information, and not just knowledge now, but the application of it. And you see, Carly, ever since I discovered that light in the Hebrew means knowledge and darkness ignorance, I've been so keen to knowledge seeking. Why? Because I do not want to remain in the dark. So that's going to make our conversation today very important to me and even to the listeners. And the second reason I'm excited to have the amazing Carly on the show is for the sake of the audience. You see, Carly, we live in an age where information is as abundant as grains of sand. We've got a lot of information flying out there. So these folks trust me for quality, high opening, and very important information, of which I am totally convinced, Carly, that our conversation is going to be insightful and impactful. So for that reason, let's get started with your introduction. Talk to us about your personal or your professional journey, because right now we are so curious. We want to know how Carly got here. Then afterwards, I've gotten some beautiful questions for you. Okay, Carly, over to you.
Yeah, so I have been in this business for about 15 years. I've had my first entrepreneurial journey when I was 18 years old, and it's been something that I've really loved and I've really enjoyed. When I first started out understanding business, it was because I kind of was surrounded by a family of entrepreneurs. And then there was a time in my life before I started this particular business doing the coaching and consulting where I realized that just having like business acumen was not enough, right? Just it wasn't going to be enough. So it was about if you wanted the leadership component, if you wanted to really expand and create something that stood the test of time, then it was also going to take a lot of personal development, a lot of growth. And so now I just can see that the two are, they go hand in hand, and they are not separate. So today that's where we are. So whenever I work with clients, we definitely do personal development, but we also dive into a lot of business strategy to make sure that whatever we open up inside of them, whatever part of the vision, the mission, whatever feeds their soul, also gets implemented to such a degree that they don't just get an insight, but they're strategically experiencing it.
Personal development, and that's so important. And I love your approach. That sounds so effective. That's a beautiful one. Thank you for the wonderful stuff you're doing. So let's begin. The first question: what is the biggest mistake CEOs make when trying to grow their businesses?
Yeah, sometimes they're trying to do it all by themselves. Sometimes they're just trying to grow their businesses without focusing on what they're actually doing and why, So I was just working with a group of individuals recently, and they were kind of stuck. They were stalling in their growth, and they were focused on bottom line. And it's not bad to focus on bottom line. It's actually quite important. You want to make sure that your cash flow is healthy. However, if you're only going to do it to make money, that's not actually inspiring for usually you or your team. Nobody cares if you have a better car. Nobody cares if you have a bigger house. Nobody really cares.
That's
But if
right.
they actually have some, yeah, they don't care. But if they have something behind that, if there's something more valuable to it, then all of a sudden you can get everyone on board. You can get everyone inspired to do something with you. So they decided, instead of having just this dynamic of, okay, we're just here to make money, it's like, well, why are we actually doing this? Like, what's the bigger cause behind it? And so when we found it out, it was really actually to empower their employees for financial independence, and to allow them to build the kind of wealth that they can support their family, not just today, but until the day they die. Right. And that was really beautiful. And so the way that they're building their businesses is they're giving other people that opportunity. And so as opposed to having a metric of like how much money we're making per year, they also now have a metric of like, well, how much are employees making per year, and how many people are they actually, like, how much money are they making for these people? So that's a metric, because that's what truly inspires them. And what's cool is, like, if you think about that, if you look at a board and you say, well, we have to meet these targets to make sure that, the owners make money. Again, nobody cares. But if they look at a board and say, let's meet these targets this quarter because everything here means that we're all going to be financially independent. Like, this will really help so and so and so and so. And then all of a sudden it becomes a team effort. And that's actually the true purpose of the company too. So we really want to check in and make sure that you're focused on the right strategy, because when you focus on the right strategy, you can then implement that into your system in a much more inspiring way, not just for you, but also for your employees, which gives them the opportunity to have their values fulfilled, something aligning with them, and a bigger mission and a bigger purpose to go after. And I think also the thing is it's not easy to scale. Like, the more that you take on, the more complexities we actually have. So everything that you did yesterday worked, but it's probably not going to work tomorrow. There's going to be a lot of refinement. There's going to be a lot of stuff comes up. And that's again why we kind of go in. And when we're going in and helping businesses, we're not just doing the personal development dynamic, we're doing a massive quantity of strategy to make sure as they grow, they can grow alongside with their company without having to put all the fires out all the time. Like, just make it more manageable, a bit easier, where if something comes up, it's more predictable. You spot it closer, like more ahead of time, instead of just having all the crazy stuff happen last minute. And we really do that because it's genuinely important. Like, your business is important. You may not see it yet because maybe you haven't connected to that inspiring vision like the client I just spoke about, but everyone has that inside of them. So you usually don't sometimes understand how important your business is
Tell
until
you.
you get that insight. And I'm like, it's really important. So let's get it organized. Let's get it structured. Let's get it stable. And let's make sure we have cash flow too. And that you're stable as well and inspired so we can get all this moving and grooving.
Oh wow, that was a great answer. I love that. And you answered it in such a way that you made it quite easy to understand. But what I picked out of it so far is understanding the reason why you're doing it. And when I started my podcast, I sat down and I wrote out, why am I going into this? Why do I want to start this podcast? And I was able to define it, okay? And because I could define the why, that has kept me going for 4 years now, and it will keep me going. So I got that, understanding the why it's so important. So what about burnout? Okay, how can leaders recover from burnout, and enjoy their work again.
Yeah, it's a perfect transition because when we have burnout, we're disconnected from the why. And our why gives us the opportunity to kind of have this endless stores of energy. Um,
So
Sometimes I'm
true.
like, it's challenging as well. Like we kind of all want it, but then you don't realize, maybe you haven't had a cup of like sleep for like a few days, but you feel really energized, and then all of a sudden you stop doing what inspires you and you crash and burn and you're like, what the heck just happened? And it wasn't anything else. You're not drinking coffee, you're not going crazy with any of that stuff. You actually just like you have a lot of energy from within, right? So it's really cool. And when we are connected to that why, we don't get burned out by the things we love to do. So if there's certain things on your to-do list and I say, hey, like which things are actually making you feel burnt out and which things are you not burned out at, then you can look at it and you'll be like, well, these things are very exhausting to me, right? I know that in your perception, that's not connected with your why, and that's something that's not inspiring to you, right? But if you have things on there that, you're like, well, I actually feel energized when I do this. And I was like, okay, well, what if I gave you the opportunity to do that all day and that's all you did? I would love that. You can see people's face and they're like, I would love that. That would be the best. That would be amazing. And it's like, do you think you'd get tired doing it? No, not at all. And so when we think of burnout, we keep assuming it's related to part of our vision or purpose, and maybe it's changing. But the reality is it's not changing. You just disconnected from it. And so whenever I work with executives and leadership teams and owners, we're making sure that things are managed wisely on their day-to-day job duties. So as opposed to you doing everything that you think you're supposed to, have to, should, we make sure that it's delegated properly. So you're actually focused in the area that inspires you most, which actually is your zone of genius. This is the other thing that, like, when I'm working with people, is I want them to make sure they understand is that if you give your employee something that they have to do, but you can see that they're not very productive in it. And then they have this other task that they're highly productive, they're highly inspired, they can't wait to get it done. That's their zone of genius. So if you could give them more of that, you're actually feeding someone's genius to such a degree, you're getting the most impactful part of them, the most intelligent, the most productive part of them, right? So why even give them that other task? Because there's someone else in the company that loves that other task that they hate. And that's the biggest thing is like you want the right people doing the right jobs in the right seats. And when leaders get burnout, I know that they're not in the right seats potentially. They don't have the right jobs. Like there's some sort of disconnect with what they're actually doing on a day-to-day basis and what's truly important to them. Because again, when we connect with what's important to them, not only do they feel inspired and fulfilled to wake up every day and come to work, they say, I get to do this. I want to do this. They get more innovative, more creative because it's something that they love. And truly, I love when doing this with companies because sometimes you have like a highly productive employee who looks unproductive and we realize they're just in the wrong seat. And then you pop them into the right seat and all of a sudden it's like, whoa, this is one of the best people in our company now. And it's like, yeah, you just had them in the wrong job, And sometimes as owners, we get in the wrong jobs, and that's where
Mm.
delegation comes in and making sure that you're delegating to the right people. And that's again where human behavior and business just goes hand in hand, because if you're not paying attention to people, not just how they are and if they're getting their job done, but even how they show up every day. If so and so is showing up and getting their job done and they're sitting at the coffee machine and telling everyone how excited they are for the day and all the things they get to do, talking to someone else who's like miserable and just being like, I can't wait to get off. Oh, it's almost lunchtime. You're watching someone count down the clock. That's the human behavior dynamic to say, like as a manager, as a leader, you're like, hey, this person is not engaged, which means they're not happy here. Is it the job? Is it the seat? Are they even a fit for the company? And so, yeah, it's really paying attention to both dynamics because you're watching someone who's burnt out.
What a what a beautiful response. You want to have the right people doing the right job on the right seat. That's profound. That's profound, and that's so smart of you. I never thought about that. Well, you see, looking at how experienced you are, doing this beautiful stuff so far, I believe there is something that is so inevitable, which is challenges. So, how were you able to overcome those tough moments, those, difficult periods? How did you overcome them?
Yeah. So when we think about challenges, challenges are technically opportunities. And if we're not seeing them as opportunities, what winds up occurring is that we become overwhelmed by them. Right. And so this is some of my favorite work to do because it's very cool, especially in business. Right. We'll go through and we'll look at a challenge and I'll sit and I'll ask a client how that challenge is benefiting them on a professional level and a personal level. And you'll discover and understand that there's no mistakes in this world. There's actually like no mistakes. Like everything really truly does happen for a reason. We're just asking better questions to find out the reasons it's happening. And when you do, you realize the personal growth for you as an individual and as a leader of that company. And you also realize the growth for the company, like how it's actually helping the company to get to its next stage and its next step. Huge deal, because when we keep asking those quality questions to uncover what the real opportunity is in a challenge, you start to understand and discover the next steps. You're not emotionally connected and triggered anymore by it, because you're like, whoa, I didn't see this as an opportunity before, but now I see it as an opportunity, right? And because of that, you don't feel like emotionally drained, you don't feel exhausted, you don't feel frustrated, you don't feel angry, you're not going to feel burnt out, right? And so it's really cool because I was working with a client who had some theft in their company, right? And it was fascinating because we were going through and doing this process. Is like, how did it serve them? How did it serve the company? And we just kept asking questions and different questions to get these answers. And at the end of the day, what it did is it really connected him with his vision again. Like, had he not gone through that and had that employee not done that, he wouldn't have actually reconnected to what he truly wanted to do with the company, which was a lot more than he was doing. And because of that, they had taken some serious steps to get that done. Steps that he had been delaying for 7 years. 7 years he put it aside, and it was the theft that got him to move forward and actually take those steps. And then the other dynamic is the gaps in the company that were there before that were going unaddressed. He all of a sudden had put in these systems and processes, obviously to make sure that didn't happen again, but it wound up increasing productivity like tenfold in the company, because just having that level of organization and communication made all the departments connect with each other to a greater degree and work with each other better. So funny enough, even though this guy stole X amount of dollars, like it actually improved the business so much. And I was like, how much did you make off him? And we had a good laugh because he's like, I was like, what do you think about him now? And he's like, kind of want to thank him. And I was like, I know. So every challenge has an opportunity. And when we get into such great detail that we can see why this gift is given to us, all of a sudden you're saying, thank you, I love you for it, instead of like, I don't want it. Because if you ask him, it's like, would you go through that again? And you'll see his face and he's like, wow, you did get paid a lot for it. And he's like, probably. And I was like, you're awesome. So, and that's the truth for everything we go through.
I tell you, so true. And thank you for sharing that with us. Every challenge has an opportunity in it. I got that. So finally, okay, one more question to go. How can managing pride and shame make someone a better leader?
Yeah. So basically, our pride is the part of ourselves that we're infatuated with, we put on a pedestal. And it's, when we have that super ego dynamic, when we're showing off, we're really puffed up. We think we're on top of the world. We're untouchable. We all have those moments, right? You can't get rid of them. It's going to fluctuate. But the more that you can notice it, because this is definitely something that's not taught to us very often, the more that you can notice it, the more that you can manage it. So just like in a challenge, we see the other side. When we have pride, we want to see the other side too, because everything has both sides and it'll take yourself off a pedestal. So if you have a moment where you're seeing everything is all positive, all good, all amazing, including about yourself, right? You want to sit there and ask yourself the question, like, what are some of the challenges that come with this? One of my colleagues, he was working with an individual who was donating a significant quantity of money over to like a charity that was feeding hungry families. And what they found out, because she had herself so puffed up about it, right? What they were able to find out, which I love this story, like that's awesome, is that as a result of doing it, none of the family members, the individual had 4 children, actually went out and got a job. And all those 4 children have multiple children now. And they started having kids at the age of 12 and 13. And so they have children now, and she's been financially supporting them, and none of them work. And so because she's been sending money over to this third world country, taking care of these kids, not one of them has a reason to go work. So she's completely over supported. And basically now the family has a different disability, where we know when we are starving, if you have a kid and you're starving, you're really trying to figure out a way to get to the other side. Like that's a
Exactly.
push to just be like, yeah, how do I do that? How do I empower myself? And so she disempowered multiple generations of a family. And so when we look at the other side, you can actually do things more wisely, because there actually are charities out there who really help. But she, because she had herself on a pedestal and so much pride, did not do the research to make sure when she was donating somewhere that would not only serve, but make sure to hold them accountable to empower themselves to transform their current situation. Right. So that's why, as a leader, when we're looking at stuff, if you think something's all amazing and all good, go check in and look at the other side. Jeff Bezos, I forget what he calls this. It's really funny. There's a good book where he has like an excerpt in it. It's like a leadership book. There's a bunch of leaders. So it's a fun one. Definitely read it. But in it, he talks about his, I don't know what he calls them, but when I do it, I call them like negativity parties in a sense, where I'm like, what are all the things? I think about all the things that could go wrong. What are all the mistakes that could happen? What's all the challenges I could go through, right? So instead of being positive about something, I'm like, I call it a negativity party. And I go in and I look at everything and I'm like, okay, I'm prepared for that. I'm prepared for that. I'm prepared for that. I am not even close to prepared for that. And I think, and I'm like, that's a genuine issue that could arise,
I tell you.
And so sometimes too is like, I'll even ask family members and they're not interested in the same things as I am. So they have a lot of different perceptions and negative feedback for me. And they'll be like, I'm sorry, I don't mean to like burst your bubble. And I'm like, no. I never would have thought of that. I'm like, thank you so much. I'm like, you don't understand. That was really helpful. Like, how did I not know that? And so whenever I'm doing something new, I actually ask multiple family members who I know don't even like the idea, because I know they're going to give me negative feedback based on their expertise and their experiences that can help me know, is this realistic? And a lot of times I'm like, it wasn't. And so this is a thing too, is like when we go in and we're encountering situations, I can't tell you how many times I could have fallen into some really poor business decisions because I didn't have my negativity party to see the other side. Yeah. And other things I'm like highly prepared for. So that one's the pride dynamic. And with the shame dynamic, I mean, we talk more about shame and stuff too, but when you feel shame or guilt about things, you tend to hold yourself back. You don't think you deserve the opportunities. You don't think you deserve the finances and all those different dynamics. So it's really important for you to clear your guilt and shame too. And remember that no matter what you've done or not done, you're genuinely worthy of love. And with those situations too, it's seeing how all the challenges that you've brought other people have actually helped them. Just like that guy who stole the money from the company. If he
Yeah.
understood that, can you imagine like the guilt and shame that he would release inside himself? And it's like,
Mm.
yeah, you did something. We all do things. We all do things sometimes that are a little off base. But like, if you just ruin your life for the rest of your life and like literally make yourself pay with your life, not seeing that there's two sides to everything, you're just going to beat yourself up forever, and maybe it'll stay and stick the only strategy you have because you can't empower yourself to get out and do anything else because you feel too much guilt and shame. Right. And so that's why it's so important to like see both sides. And even when I've worked through big stuff and big challenges, it's like I'll go to the people who have done big things. And I now often share with them, especially if I run into them, like how it helped me, how it served me, and just making sure like, and you see it sometimes they get like a glimmer of like, oh, I feel better. And it's like, sometimes they have so much guilt that they don't even want to like hear it. And I'm like, there's nothing to say sorry for. I'm like, I love you. Like, thank you. You changed my life. Like, I love you. So it's really hard for us to hear that. But like, yeah, the more that you can do that for yourself, the more that you can give yourself permission to move forward. And then you also won't be over accommodating because when you have too much guilt and shame, you'll become overly altruistic in the world. And again, when you're overly altruistic, remember, we're giving without receiving, we're giving without paying attention to how we're giving. Maybe you're like that individual with the charity challenge or so you want to pay attention. You want to overgive. And even if you have too much pride, you become overly narcissistic, but the balance in between is perfect, where it's like we have altruism, but then we're also getting paid. So there's a little bit of narcissism. And that balance of both is like kind of how we function in the world, where we can give out a service and get paid. That's a beautiful balance, like balanced altruism and narcissism. Too high of narcissism, we're really puffed up, we've got pride. Too altruistic, I know you've got a lot of guilt and shame.
Profound. This is beautiful, I tell you. And I'll have to listen to our conversation again and again. I'll take that as a final thought, Carly. Thank you so very much. So, for folks who would like to reach out to you, learn more about the beautiful stuff you're doing, or even ask you questions, how can that be possible?
Yeah, they can go to my website, which is westcoastgrowthadvisors.com. Yeah, and they can reach out to me directly there. They can go to some of my social media. LinkedIn is where I'm the most active. So, yeah, if you want to connect with me there, that's where I'm the most active.
Beautiful. So that's going to be the end of the show, Carly. Thank you for coming and thank you for sharing those beautiful stuffs with us. It means a whole lot. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.